The Obama administration's review of its Afghanistan war strategy is out, but there are conflicting reports underlining deep divisions in Washington over just how exactly the war is going. Take a look.
The U.S. has again reviewed the Afghan war strategy, and the results are quite upbeat, given the circumstances, which brings up the question, is Washington in denial? Have American leaders chosen to fight a war they cannot win?
In pursuit of our core goal, we are seeing significant progress.
But U.S. intelligence agencies sound more pessimistic. Leaked portions of the classified national intelligence estimates show the U.S. intelligence establishment believes large parts of Afghanistan are still in danger of falling to the Taliban. Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross has warned of the dire humanitarian situation in the country, saying civilian casualties, internal displacement, and insufficient access to medical care threaten Afghans on a daily basis. The review comes at the end of the bloodiest year for both Afghan civilians and foreign troops since the U.S.-led war. Back in the U.S., there are also major worrying signs for the Obama administration. The president's popularity is at only 39%, Congress at 13%. The economy is still bad, and the now 9-year war is taking a toll on the American public. A majority of Americans want out of Afghanistan, but U.S. leaders aren't listening. Instead, they're advocating for the expansion of the war further into Pakistan.
We've welcomed major Pakistani offensives in the tribal regions. Nevertheless, progress has not come fast enough. So we will continue to insist to Pakistani leaders that terrorist safe havens within their borders must be dealt with.
The Afghan war has already practically spread into Pakistan. The U.S. carries out non-sanctioned drone attacks there on a daily basis, mostly killing innocent civilians. But as violence seemingly spreads out of control, Washington's new review directly contradicts the situation on the ground without offering any major shifts in the current strategy, a strategy many experts believe has already failed. Even if the U.S. does withdraw on schedule, what exactly did it gain by occupying Afghanistan? In 2001, the country was ruled by the Taliban. It is now threatened to be overrun by them at any time. If Afghanistan was a safe haven for Al-Qaeda in 2001, now neighboring Pakistan is. After years of occupation, Afghanistan is now more devastated than it was when ruled by the Taliban back in 2001, making the situation a hotbed for the return of the insurgents.
Well, to discuss this a bit further, we're now joined by Con Hallinan, who is with Foreign Policy in Focus, who joins us on the line from Berkeley, California. Mr. Hallinan, as always, thank you for joining our broadcast. Now, some say that the admission of gains in Afghanistan being, quote, fragile and reversible is important because it shows Obama is finally showing pragmatism in his foreign policy. Do you agree?
I don't. I think that the analysis that the military is making progress in Afghanistan is, first of all, keep in mind this is the military, and no military ever admits that they're losing. They could be in the midst of a major retreat, and they'd be calling in an advance to the rear. So this is the kind of light at the end of the tunnel talk that we heard about in Southeast Asia. And at this point, I think that the Obama administration is using this particular report to keep troops on the ground at least to 2014. So instead of the 2011 date that they were talking about a year ago, they're now talking about 2014. So I don't see pragmatism here. What I see is a kind of stay the course, and that course is simply a disaster. The fact that when you pour a large number of troops into a relatively small area, that the Taliban back off, well, of course, that's what guerrillas do in a guerrilla war. At the same time as this is happening in Kandahar, this kind of backing off of the Taliban, there's a tremendous surge of Taliban activity in the north and the east of the country, areas that used to, even 6 weeks ago, used to be relatively stable and that you could pass to. You can no longer do that. So what you've seen is that the war, rather than coming under control, has simply spread to other areas of Afghanistan, and as was said earlier in the report, of course, spread into Pakistan. So I don't see this as pragmatism at all. I see this as a kind of a march toward madness.
Right. Now, 60% of Americans, according to a new poll, believe that this war hasn't been worth fighting, i.e., the Afghanistan war is now as unpopular as the Iraq war. They also prioritize bringing troops home as only second to the economy. Will the White House wake up to this?
I'm worried that they will not. And I see the administration painting itself into a corner. They don't want to look weak on national defense because this is what the Republicans are going to beat them over the head with. And so what I see them doing is, they're expanding the money that they're using for nuclear weapons, $85 billion for nuclear weapons. They're increasing the military budget, and they're staying the course in Afghanistan. My feeling is that if the United States is engaged in major kind of war-fighting activities by 2012, that Barack Obama may well lose the presidency. I think this is, I can't understand the folly involved in this. I know that there are smart people in the White House, and I cannot imagine why they are doing such very, very stupid things.
Right. Before letting you go, I'd like to get a brief answer on another question as well. It's been argued that a prolonged U.S. war is dangerous to Pakistan's stability by deepening divisions and weakening support for the already fragile government there. Now, considering Pakistan is seen by Obama as a terrorist haven, wouldn't his strategy take this into account?
Well, I would think that all you'd have to do is to take a look at the situation in Pakistan right now and realize that the war is causing internal divisions. And suddenly the Pakistani army is having to fight its own Taliban insurgents. And one would assume that the United States would look at that and see the potential for instability in places like Kashmir, India, and Pakistan, all of South Asia for that matter, and would look for a negotiated settlement to this war, but I don't see it happening. If you'd ask me why I don't see it happening, I don't know. I wish I was in the White House. I wish I could tell them where I think things are going at this point, but I don't see them backing away from it, and I do believe that it creates a real danger for democracy in Pakistan and stability in Pakistan.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for now. That was Con Hallinan with Foreign Policy in Focus, joining us on the line from Berkeley, California. Sir, as always, thank you very much for your insight here at Press TV.